Hi, I'm Sarah Jane.
And I'm Andrew, and this is our 2013 Ford Transit long wheelbase high roof that we have recently bought to convert into a camper.
So we bought the van on June 13th, and since then we've been doing a few bits and pieces to bring it up to where it is now. Um, from now on, we're gonna do more detailed videos and everything we're doing, but this is our starting point. So we thought we would. We have a sheet, so we're gonna run through it and tell you everything that we've done so far.
Yeah, so we got the van, as Sergeant said, on the 23rd, 13th of June. We seen it advertised the day before on Gumtree. The problem was it was in Leicester in England, and we live in Northern Ireland, so wasn't really a problem. Like, so
Yeah.
we booked flights. I sort of went ahead because I really wanted it, and sort of convinced Sergeant to book flights. Um, then we flew to Birmingham, got a coach to Leicester, England, and went to see the van. It was really nice. It was good for especially the age of the van, and
For the height of the van and everything, it was
yeah,
like the exact one that we wanted.
yeah,
So
it was the perfect size, and everything looked pretty good with it. So we picked it up then. We got it for 4,750, which isn't a bad price, especially for the age as well as the miles, as we said before. And then from then we drove it up to Ryan in Scotland, which was about a 7 hour
drive.
7 hour drive. But it was quite fun because obviously we'll be road tripping in the van anyway. But
It was like our first official
the issue
road
was
trip.
we were sort of sleep deprived from getting up at 4 in the morning to fly to Leicester. So
Yeah.
it could have been better. But yeah, we drove up to the Stena line in Ryan and got the boat over back home to Belfast. And yeah,
So the next day we started on completely stripping out everything that was in it. We got the bulkhead out, the floors, the walls, and just got it back down to bare bones. But it was absolutely disgusting underneath everything.
yeah. So the
Um,
van before had been used as a landscaping van, we think. So it was full of soil and dirt. It was really disgusting, as you'll see in the videos. Probably couldn't have bought a dirtier van than what we
yeah,
did,
really gross.
but sure, oh well, we got it sorted.
The next day then, obviously the van is parked at my house, so I'm able to do a bit more when Andrew's not able to be here. So I got started on the wiring the day after. There was a big sort of floodlight in the back and strip lights and everything, and all that wiring was connected through like the panels in the wall, and it went into the fuse box in the cab. So all of the wires were live as well. And we had to basically, well, me and my dad, had to take up basically the entire dash to get at these wires and take them off of all the connections to make sure there was no live wires. But got all that done, stripped all the wiring out, and the back was put back to normal again.
After that, then we power washed the van out and we took out the entire cab as well, so the flooring in the cab and also the steps and things. And we completely power washed the van, cleaned it, cleaned the walls, cleaned the roof, cleaned everything.
We
The
also took out the double passenger seat while we were doing all this because, well, we have already changed it to two driver's seats, but we needed to take the seat out as part
Yeah,
of
because
this.
it was a bench seat in it before, which we don't need because there's only going to be two of us. And
Yeah, so after pressure washing everything, Andrew also got on the roof and pressure washed that, scrubbed that, got everything as clean as we possibly could.
there was a bit of rust up in the roof because it actually drilled holes in through the roof to have beacons, we think. So there was like some rust spots and some things that needed sorted, but it cleaned up okay. Um, with the rust, so with the crust,
Yeah.
we then used crust, which is just a rust treatment.
We had to go over everything with a wire brush on a drill and get all the surface level rust off
Yeah, and all
first.
the paint and yeah, so that would actually stick to the bare metal. We did that. Crusted all of the rust spots and things in the van as well, which there was a few a few bits around the wheel arches that definitely needed sorted out, and yeah. But all in all, the van wasn't too rusty for how old it is.
For the make and model,
Yeah,
which are
because
quite prone to
Ford Transits
rusting.
are very rusty vans, but this one's okay. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully I haven't found any more after making this video. But yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, so we did 2 layers of the crust, and then after that it all completely dried. We just went over and completely painted the floor just because it was quite dirty and grimy, and we wanted a clean canvas to start off with.
Yeah, there was a lot of black marks and scrapes and stuff in the walls, especially. So we just wanted to paint that to make it nice.
Because there was also a few wee small holes in the floor as well as some bigger ones, decided a way to get around welding
Well, they were
was,
screwed. Well, they weren't like rusted holes. They were just actually holes that were screwed in. So
yeah, so we decided a way to get around the welding would be to use pop rivets in the smaller holes of the van and then to use rubber grommets for the bigger ones. We could go over all of these with sealant and paint and make sure it is completely watertight, and then that way we save quite a lot of money on welding.
yeah, because welding a van, although it's recommended, it's really expensive, and we didn't want to spend that money.
We
So
also didn't really need to because that pretty much done the job for
yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah. Especially just for how well we're gonna keep the van and how well it's gonna be treated. We can't imagine that much more rust will actually. We're not gonna allow water to sit in anywhere in the van, so it's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be great.
Hopefully.
Then after that was sorted, I started to get the sound deadening done while Andrew was working on the conduit. We did go a bit overkill on the sound deadening, but we figured
Yeah, we got a really good price. It's Killmat sound deadening that we used.
did go overkill, but it's better to have too much than too
Yeah,
less.
may as well. May as well use it.
So
With the conduit, we decided to run. It's just plastic flexible conduit, which means that when we're doing our wiring, after we've insulated the walls and things, it'll be much easier to wire the van. Because I've put mouse wires through the conduit as well, so that when we are putting our actual wires in, we can just pull them through, and it's much easier.
after all that, Andrew went on holiday. So while Andrew was
I
away
know.
enjoying himself, I bought a spot polisher from Lidl's for quite cheap, and I decided to start trying to get all of the leather residue off of the panels on the van on the outside. Because it had been a work van, there wasn't any letters left when we bought it, but there was all of like the glue residue, and you could see the outlines from the outside. So I started trying to get that off. We had already tried to do this a few weeks before, but it did not work at all.
Yeah.
We thought it worked at the time, but the next day we could still see the letters. So I spent about 7, 8 hours doing the entire van that had the letters on it, but now it's all off and it looks a lot better.
It looks really good now. So she did a good job. But um,
Yeah.
after that, then we took out the driver's seat and the batteries. So when we were doing the cab, we never took the driver's seat out because we didn't want to deal with all the wires under it, because that's where our actual batteries are stored underneath the driver's seat. So we eventually got around to doing it, took the batteries out and give it a proper clean. It was also filthy,
It was disgusting.
like the rest of the van. But yeah, we cleaned them up and got the driver's seat back in. Also painted our seat bases. Took there were small bits of rust on the seat bases
Yeah.
that we removed, and then we resprayed them again in just black.
Black spray paint.
So now they look really nice and shiny. So yeah.
Yeah. The same day, we also sound deadened the wheel arches, went over everything with
Aluminium foil sort of stuff. So
aluminium foil and
it's
aluminium tape.
it's just insulation. It says it there, whatever it is, but it's just big aluminium foil with bubbles in it, which allow it to be breathable and actually insulate and do its job. But yeah, we did that, and then we created a vapor barrier with aluminium tape in between it as well, so our wheel arches are completely sealed.
And sound deadened. After that, because we were waiting on the seat drying that we pressure washed and the base drying from all the spray paint, we then assembled the seat base again, putting all the batteries back together, which took a quite long time because of the wiring involved with it. But that's all back together, and we have both of the seats in now, and the cab is pretty much
Yeah,
back down
we
to
put
normal.
the mat back in, we put all the plastics back in and the steps and things. So yeah, the cab's pretty much finished.
Which pretty much takes us up to where we're at now, which is we've just finished doing the flooring. We had our wooden battens and our insulation, and we've just put on top our plywood, and it's all been sized correctly for the floor. So Andrew, if you wanna.
Yeah, so we ran 50 by 25 mil battens horizontally in the van. Normally people do them long ways because it's easier to do them long ways, but with the holes that were in our van and now the bolts and the sealant and things that we've put on our floor, it was much easier to run them horizontal across the grooves in the floor. But yeah, it worked out well. We so during the floor and doing the floor, and we also put insulation boards in, which were also 25 mil thick in between the battens. And then yeah, we sealed all the gaps with aluminium tape again. And then yesterday we actually ply lined the van. So we cut our ply to size. We tried to, and we now have an actual floor, and that brings us up to where we are now.
Yeah, so today is the 11th of August, so it's been almost 2 months since we bought the van. We haven't been rushing through it. We're kind of just doing it as we have the money to renovate it, and we're not really wanting it to be sort of ready completely until next summer. So we have a bit of time. Um, but yeah, that's where we're at now. So we are gonna make more in-depth videos as
Yeah,
we go through.
our next steps are going to be windows and also hopefully a skylight and a max air fan. We need to cut lots of holes in the van before we do any of the insulation on the walls. So yeah, there are the next steps. And yeah,
Thank you for watching.
yes, thanks for watching the video and
Subscribe.
follow to see the rest of our van conversion.
It will be very entertaining. So
That'll be class. All right, thanks. Bye.